Welcome back to another Sleep Token reaction. And before we dive into this one, I want to send a massive shout out and thank you to everybody for not only showing us a ton of support on the last batch of reactions we did to this beautiful new album, but also a ton of kindness.
Oh my gosh. They broke my heart and you guys filled it right back up. It was really nice to read some of the comments.
That's actually really pretty.
Oh.
You know, she doesn't do this typically. She's a very educated listener, obviously my much prettier other half, but doesn't sit in on these kind of things often. But with our love for this band and how we've kind of grown together and they've been such a big part of our life, our relationship, part of the beginning of our relationship, it only felt right to do it that way. So thank you for being kind, and hopefully you enjoy these as much as we do. Now, we're going to sit down and listen to the remainder of the album. So this will be the first one we put out, and hopefully we'll put them all out together. I think we got 4 left. Blown away, have had the tracks on repeat.
Oh, yes.
Everybody we know who gets in a car with us, hey, you're a Sleep Token fan too now, huh?
Guess what?
Okay, the first one we're checking out is Past Self. And as always, nervous, excited, all the emotions. You ready?
Yes.
Well, are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy, and I don't even know who I used to be, but nothing is the same, and some things have to change now. Are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy, and I don't even know who I used to be, but nothing is the same, and some things have to change now, now. Clawed out of my woodwork, bolts out of my blue depths, in and out of my dreamscapes, people acting different. One look at my past self, double taking my cash flow, apologizing for shit that frankly I stopped thinking of years ago. And you know I deliberate on cutting out the demons. I still need a dark side, they just need a reason. The passage of the hours into rushing through the seasons, falling through my mind with the leaves on the tree. So keep me alive, keep me believing that now is the time to take it or leave it. Gave away all my blessings, lift off, weightless, torn apart by the true believers who turned out to be faithless. Are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy, and I don't even know who I used to be, but nothing is the same, and some things have to change now. Are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy, and I don't even know who I used to be, but nothing is the same, and some things have to change now. Are you the guardian angel?
Okay, gotta stop there. Excuse me. I do my best to find moments in these, but it only feels right to give it some kind of depth and I don't guess movement before we talk about it. You mind if I just geek out about a couple things real quick?
Oh, please do.
So there's a couple of things I really love about, and I'm going to save one of the notes for last because I think you're going to be able to probably communicate it better than I will. One of the things that I absolutely love about them is you get artists who have loads of different dynamic genre influences. And sometimes what those artists will do is to kind of nod to them. They will purposefully and deliberately push something forward to kind of shout out a certain genre or a certain love to let the audience know that this is kind of a thing that they're motivated by, inspired by, all those kind of things. But then there are artists who do it in a way which feels much more organic. Like this rhythmic programmed drum piece is very reminiscent of a lot of R&B that you used to hear in the kind of early 2000s, Craig David, that kind of stuff. When was Craig David? Sometime. And what he's singing about and the way that he's singing is uniquely different and special to Sleep Token and to Vessel. But it has that flavor to it, and it's not done in a way that feels forced, possibly because of how deliberate they've been with kind of really being brave and taking those risks. But it just feels natural and organic, and it's kind of something that makes me smile. another thing is this, you said it best, this dichotomy, this light and dark around the music feeling uplifting and a bit happier, but then the lyrics and the sentiments of it being quite sinister sometimes and dark. And this is the point I wanted to make here. We spoke about it on one of the last few reactions, and people noticed it too, is how prominent his voice is in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
It sits really forward, and the word that people keep using, and I think that we used, is bright. But it's a little bit more than that. It is bright, and you can achieve brightness through amplification, but it's mostly through how you EQ vocals, possibly through how you record them. Certain type of condenser mics will do that, but then also being brave enough to lift up certain parts of those high mids and the highs while balancing out the bass of the vocal. But I noticed that the way that he enunciates certain things, it's not different to how he used to on previous albums, but it's highlighted differently.
Yeah.
So like the word back, in previous albums, it would have been back. Now it's back. There's this little click on the K. And I don't know how he speaks typically, but it feels like there's a further emphasis on it, sometimes to enhance the word, but sometimes almost as this vocal percussive element.
Yeah, I've noticed it in several songs now that we've listened to. And you bring up brightness, and I know people have mentioned that. The thing with that, my little metaphorical, poetic mind has just gone, okay. Sometimes things can be too bright. So they're so bright that they lack clarity. So yes, it's brighter, I guess, comparatively to older tracks. But I think for me, it's the clarity of it, how clear it is. Because I know in previous albums, I feel like this guy goes on runs. Like, we all know. I'm not going to do it because I'm not as good as he is. But I felt like in older tracks, it would almost get lost. Like unless you have a real ear for it, it very much would blend in with music, which is not the music, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It actually just shows how dynamic a voice can be and how it intermixes with the music, you know, as an instrument. The voice is an instrument, but if you can get it to mix in with the music, there's something like really special about that. But then I feel like sometimes his particular runs that he would go on and his amazing like vibrato that he has to achieve those would sometimes get lost unless you're listening like really closely. So now I've noticed with these newer tracks that it's brought out a lot more.
Yeah.
And you can follow him more, which is just another level of fun.
Well, before we hit play again, the thing that's going to keep the overthinkers up at night is because of how planned they are, because of how systematic they are and mysterious. Was that all part of the development? Is that because they signed with RCA, or is that a vocal production intent? That as the message, as the resolution, as the lyrics become clearer, as does the production of the vocal.
Ooh.
Let that one keep you up at night. Let's go.
Stepping up from my future, uploading my true self. Did I get this far for nothing, or are you the reward? Guiding hands in this hell house, opening new. If this is love, I am out of hesitation. Head over heels at elevation, walking an inch above the pavement, taking it stride by stride together. If this is real, then I am all up in a frenzy, not like before when I was empty. Say that the story we tell is never ending, taking it side by side together. I'm gonna dance on the line with me. You know it's not a game or a fantasy, and I don't even know who I used to be, but nothing is the same. Something's out to change now. I am gonna dance on the line with.
Help me out here. I don't mean to interrupt, but I quite like being educated myself. No, I don't. I don't.
you interrupt all the time. Forever pauser.
Shush.
Okay.
Don't out me. There's people are watching.
This guy.
All of our friends are here. Embarrassing me in front of our friends. Explain this to me, because this to me feels like a magic trick that I just can never get my hands on. He's singing his vocal line, which, by the way, the whole thing about R&B and Craig David could not be more apt in some of the runs and vocal choices he's making. But he's got that underline. They introduce this in this album more, where there's this kind of delayed offset other vocal, for lack of a better word, polyrhythm underneath. And it sounds really layered and nice, and it's a bit further away. You're not meant to hear every word of what he's saying. But how in the hell do you do that vocally in studio when you have your mainline melody and you're singing this kind of offset piece underneath? I look at that in the same way I'm sure a lot of people look at someone doing like crazy runs or tapping on a guitar. I feel like it's a magic trick.
It's not a magic trick. So a couple things. Number one, they've done this in previous albums and songs constantly. However, again, it's I want to say that it's been much more subtle, unless you're really actively listening for it and know that it's supposed to be there. So it's always been there for many, many songs that they've had before. But to record that, you're literally just taking it individually. So you'll sing the main, and then you'll sing one, another piece, and then you'll sing another piece, and you'll match it up, time wise. But also, he's so good. Yeah. And so is too. So I reckon it's the same thing with, was it Emergence? When everybody's like, my brain's doing a backflip because it doesn't sound like 4/4 anymore. But it is. Yeah. But he's just playing slightly off. So it makes it sound like it's not, but it is. And you wouldn't know that unless you're trained to know that. If you're a drummer, or, you just naturally can follow a beat. And, there's no criticism in that. That just goes to show how they make simple things seem quite complicated.
Yeah, and I guess the phrasing all lines up at the end, which kind of is like your resolution at the end of a bar or something like that. Okay, let's let this one play out. Yeah, really pretty, really delicate. Didn't make it out to be something it wasn't. And they're one of those bands where you wouldn't be wrong for sitting waiting for half of that song for it to kick into something unique and different and heavy and special and removed. But I quite like the simplicity of that track. I think it's really nice. And one of the things they do probably better than anybody is, sometimes I think, well, how in the hell did he write that vocal melody over that piece of music? And then I have to remind myself that it's effectively one of the most powerful gifts a musician may have is the arpeggio, which is effectively playing a chord into broken up pieces, all of the notes that form that chord, right? And you can do that melodically differently. So if you were to play all them together, you'd get a particular chord. If you were to play those notes individually, you can string that out into a melody. And most musicians, and I would go as far as to say they probably write those melodies off of that chord system first, and then you can break that up into something special later, which then kind of is a reverse way of songwriting if you were thinking about the final version of the track. And it's really, really smart. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I like to think that with as calculated as they are with their choices, I like to imagine them just getting a baseline something and then just sitting around and playing around with it, just like anybody who's ever been in a band. We've all had those moments of like, hey, let's try this, and having like a fun time and laughing about it.
Yeah.
And, just doing silly stuff and just figuring it out and doing things that maybe don't even work. And because it's possible that even these guys have tried to insert something into one of these songs and they go, nah, that doesn't work. I know it's a weird thought because we think they just poop out rainbows constantly, but they're still human and they're still artists and they're still trying things and not afraid to, potentially do the wrong thing to get to the absolute best thing they can produce.
You can only get perfection through advanced failure. So it makes, I'm almost certain that that's a reality.
Failing forward.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Okay, we've got a few more to check out. So appreciate you spending time with us, enjoying these. Please keep giving us all the info, any of the bits that we may have missed, any of the ideas and things you have around some of the writing, the lyrics. Share that with us, and it's been an absolute pleasure once again. Catch you in the next one.
Have a damn good day.
And that.